Top5rapwebsite.com, CD of the week number 4. Today we got Blu Exile, Below the Heavens. Cult classic. I remember people talking about this album late 2000s. Everyone that I came across loved this album by Blu Exile. This is around the time that Exile, he did this project with Blu. He has a project called Boy Meets World with Fashion. Shout out to Fashion. I think he's from Fresno if I'm not mistaken. Below the Heavens, this is just one of the realest of the real albums. Blu is on here, really just speaking real talk. You know, nowadays we have albums and artists feel the need to just spit super braggadocio and kind of just overcompensate for whatever it is they're overcompensating for in their lyrics. Overall, just not telling the truth in their rhymes. But on Below the Heavens, you just feel Blu. He's really spitting, he's rapping the blues. And I kind of say this in my Miles album review, Blu Exile Miles. Go check that out if you haven't already. That's a great album, one of the best albums of 2020. I said that Blu is kind of rapping the blues. He's kind of talking about his struggle. If you think about the blues genre, a genre pioneered and spearheaded by Black American musicians, really singing about the struggles and things that they were facing, especially in that time in America with all the racial inequality that was and still is going on. The blues was about just speaking truth to power, speaking your truth, and just sounding damn good while doing it. And on here, I think we have Blu rapping the blues. On songs like Blue Collar Workers, Blu is speaking about being at work and speaking about having to juggle work with his girl and having all this, you know, having to be a working man, having to keep his girl happy, plus having to, you know, still try to be a great aspiring artist. He just wraps it all up very neatly for you. One of my favorite songs on here is Dancing in the Rain because it has this very just cool, smooth jazz bass line. Exile really put his foot in all of these beats. And on this album, we also get one of the first, or for me, the first appearance. This is the first time I ever heard Miguel was on Below the Heavens. Miguel went on to become an amazing musician. His song Adorn. Miguel will go on to become a really renowned musician. His album Kaleidoscope Dreams. It's on my top 10 R&B albums of the 2010s. Go check that article if you haven't already. All these things I'm mentioning, go check them out. You know, I really put some time into this. But this is the album where I first heard Miguel. And Miguel appears on here a couple times as Miguel Jantel on the songs Cold Hearted, on First Things First. He also is on the outro, kind of harmonizing, but I don't think he's credited on that. So Miguel, you know, he went on to make the classic song Adorn. Adorn is one of those songs that I felt never got old. They played it out on the radio, played it out at parties, at clubs, in the elevator, in department stores. I can never get tired of hearing the song Adorn. But this is the first time I heard Miguel with Blu Exile. So you have a legendary R&B artist, legendary hip hop producer, and a legendary lyricist in Blu who's still going to this day. Below the Heavens is easily one of my favorite albums all time. My favorite album by Blu Exile for sure. And that's saying a lot because everything they've released has been good. You know, the True and Living EP, Giving My Flowers Where I Can Still Smell Them, Miles, like we mentioned before. But this is the magnum opus right here. And even though they've never topped it, that's okay because this is like, for me, like an Illmatic. Just as good in terms of quality, in terms of content. And just the fact that Blu is just, everything he's saying on here is like, feels like facts. He's not trying to overcompensate for himself. He's not being your rapper, braggadocio. And even lyrically, it doesn't feel like he's forcing his rhymes. It feels all very fluid. So let's just take a quick look at this CD. This is really a time. This is a time in hip hop. In terms of my favorite songs, you know, it's going to be hard to pick just one. I really like No Greater Love. You know, it's the samples. It's a soul sample album. This entire album's like produced with soul samples. That was Exile's style when doing this. So songs like No Greater Love with that sample. There is no greater love. Love it. Blue Collar Workers, Dancing in the Rain is my #1 favorite song on here. Track number 7. Just very smooth. And I also like The World Is, track number 13. Because that is like the outro of all outros. And I believe that's a song that Miguel is harmonizing at the end, but he's not credited on. Blu just spits some very real lyrics, and he's doing it this entire album. But you know, in this particular song, is very introspective. There's a bar when he says, "If a man can make his own heaven, can he make the path to get to it too? I only spit fluid truth." So, and then he says, if you make your heaven pictureless, by the time you die, you'll be drifting in an imageless field. So fill your heaven full of blessed thoughts. So he's basically saying, he's challenging the idea of what is heaven. And the album is called Below the Heavens. So he kind of wraps the whole theme up with this track number 13, which I feel should be the outro. But you know, there's a couple songs after that, some bonus tracks too. But he kind of just ties in the theme and then kind of just gives you something else to think on. Like, below the heavens, what does that mean? Okay, so we're here on earth. That's what it means, here on earth. Below the heavens, here on earth. So that's why he's very grounded in this album. That's why it's not like this fantasy utopia rap world that a lot of rappers try to create. So he's really challenging the idea, like, what is heaven? Can we create our own heaven? And he kind of sums it up by saying, yo, everyone creates their own heaven and their own path. So you have to imagine what heaven is for you in order to get there. Or at least that's what I thought about it. And even though I'm not super religious and I don't necessarily identify as one religious group, that was a very deep bar for me. And even when I first heard it, and even today, you know, when I heard it 10, 12 years ago, 15, however long it's been, and when I still hear it today, it's that whole verse on track number 13, that last verse, man, it's very powerful. So anyways, Blu Exile, Below the Heavens. I would rate this project 5 stars out of 5. 4.5, 5 stars out of 5. This is a 5-star album. Easy. Very few, I can't name a weak song. A lot of people will say the Juice and Drink song is kind of a down factor. And Juice and Drinks, what track is that? That's track number 4. The only reason that it stands out like that, because every other song is just so powerful feeling. Like, from Soul Amazing and those hard just drums. Dun, 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 dun. Man, amazing, just very impactful, emotional drums on Soul Amazing. First things first, I mean, I can go on and on. I can name every track, but instead of doing that, shout out to Blu and shout out to Exile. Wait, let me get mine. Although I do want to show y'all this little piece of merch. It's one of the coolest shirts that I've bought. It's an LRG shirt, you know, so y'all remember LRG? If you don't, I mean, LRG was huge. And it's just the Blu Exile, you know, the Miles. It's their most recent project together. So yeah, I do try to support my artists. So yeah, man, 5-star album, period. Shout out to Blu, shout out to Exile. This is CD of the Week number 4, and this is Top 5, rapwebsite.com. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.